So, let's talk Planet Coaster. Released in the spring of 2015 and officially launching in the fall of 16, Planet Coaster is a theme park management sim developed by Frontier Developments. If the name sounds familiar, that's because Frontier also developed Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, as well as the Thrillville games, which I spent a considerable chunk of my childhood on. This is also the latest Roller Coaster Tycoon game, as Atari hasn't made an official new one since 3. Nope, no. Shh. Planet Coaster opens with an avatar editor. To my knowledge, the character you create will wander around your parks, as well as the park's esteemed friends, but I can't confirm that, and instead of making an avatar that resembles myself, I made her, because I could. Planet Coaster offers a handful of scenarios, not unlike the Roller Coaster Tycoon games before it, as well as a career mode requiring clearing challenges in order, and a sandbox mode. I'll be playing in the sandbox mode, as I'm not particularly a fan of get so-and-so ranking in X amount of time missions, but with that in mind, I am a little disappointed to see that you get infinite money and all the park research is done right out of the gate in the sandbox mode. Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 did the same thing, and that was a little bit of a bummer to see this game follow suit, but I get it. As for why not just play the career mode then, shut up. As for the park editor itself, it's about what you expect. Placed on a handful of rides, attractions, shops, connect them to pathways, make sure the paths contain trash cans for canning your trash, security cameras to provide security, and benches to let your guests work on their reps, all while using paths, rides, and queue lines to connect things together in a way that keeps guests happy and able to maneuver around the park in a manner hopefully not indicative of a corn maze, and hiring staff to keep things working as expected. The game's prefab buildings all come in a variety of themes, and while I appreciate the detail and love the heck out of the stock Planet Coaster theme with its wood grain and dark blues, not every type of building comes in every type of theme, and that disappoints me. There's no stock first aid station. Luckily, this is where the game's expansive building editor comes in handy. And it is expansive, almost excessively so for newcomers. If it's not clear for me building this first aid station, I was swamped by the number of choices and chalked up the lacking aesthetic design of my building up to a neo-dadaist architectural revolution instead of my own incompetence. For patient players, this builder is amazing and offers tons and tons of options to fine-tune every detail of your park. For the less inclined among us, the Steam Workshop is almost every building under the sun, and for people concerned about using the workshop due to locking achievements on some games like Binding of Isaac and City Skylines, all rides and parks on the service can be used without locking those achievements, so feel free to download to your heart's content. Also on the topic of park customization, this game also features billboards and speakers that can accept custom images, video, though in WebM format only, and sound, which when paired with the extensive color editor every ride, park, pretty much everything comes with, allows for some absolutely impressive park customization. Or you can just play meme music in every corner. If you are a highly creative-minded person, there is a lot of enjoyment to get out of the number of options you have. This game also controls rather nicely, though maybe just a tad dated. You move the mouse around a pan across your park, and the park editors are very reminiscent of Roller Coaster Tycoons 2 and 3. The path editor doesn't offer the option to make large plazas for guests to walk around in, and looping the path back around on itself doesn't create a wider track, but you can create elevated paths, you can widen a path out with some sliders, curve a path around obstacles as needed, etc. Placing flat rides also works exactly as planned, and while editing queue lines can be a little fiddly, it's not frustrating in the slightest and adapts to little adjustments easily. As for editing roller coasters and track rides, the handles are a little bit too fiddly, all things considered. It can be tough to see exactly how far you're allowed to raise or lower certain aspects, and you might have a problem making things work out how you expect them to. Another issue comes specifically with roller coasters. You have to balance out excitement, which needs to be as high as possible, nausea, which needs to be as low as possible, and fear, which should be slightly below the center. The problem is, and this might just be how I make coasters in these games, I either don't make them very exciting or too scary, and a lot of that falls on the guest AI. They're very sensitive to heights and high speeds, which are exactly what make roller coasters interesting. If you climb up really high to build up the speed you'd need for inversions and drops, you might risk getting nearly every guest a heart attack because they're just too high off the ground. I get it, kind of, but it'd be nice to see them be a bit more daring. Track rides, though, I get. The editor's a bit more constrictive than the coaster editor, but making go-karts or monorail-type rides works amazingly well. Additionally, whether it be coasters, track rides, or shops, or anything, you can decorate them with particle effects, props, triggered sounds, and all sorts of additional gubbins. It works and it feels great. Now let's actually talk about why we're doing this review. About a week or two ago, Planet Coaster got its first full-sized expansion pack, the Spooky Pack, loaded with Halloween-themed additions, rides, and props for $11 US. This caused a bit of a bump in the reviews and some general uneasiness in the forums, and I'd like to discuss this. Simply put, every other mainline Roller Coaster Tycoon game has had expansion packs like these, usually centered around a single theme, like water parks or zoos, including a handful of themed content for the price of a lunch at Corner Bakery Cafe. That said, those games had 2 or 3 expansion packs at most, and this is just the first expansion pack in the game's first year. While the bump in reviews hasn't been as extreme as, say, Payday 2, it is worth mentioning that the game is getting expansion packs, and some people aren't particularly happy about that. I personally don't see the issue with them right now. This could become like City Skylines or the Roller Coaster Tycoon games, where it just gets a handful of expansions, centered on one core concept each, and you can pick and choose what additions you want to pick up, as well as plenty of free content in the pipeline too. Or this might become Killing Floor, a train simulator with an absolute torrent of additional content you need to sift through like an old-timey prospector. Personally, I lean rather heavily towards the former, as Frontier has proven themselves to be rather trustworthy in the industry, or at the very least, handling Roller Coaster Tycoon better than Roller Coaster Tycoon. Additionally, the game has a trio of cheap tie-in packs featuring iconic vehicles from pop culture. They're $2 a piece, and they're functionally reskins of existing rides with some branding and logos slapped on. Nobody really rose a fuss about them, so I don't see a need to. My final verdict on Planet Coaster and the introduction of DLC is that it's kind of an expected move from RCT's spiritual successor, and while only time will tell how well that fares, it's already pretty safe to assume it won't be getting terribly many of these, or what it does get will be balanced by plentiful free updates like the video screens and go-karts. And hey, before we wrap this up, why don't we take a tour of the quick park I built for this video. Just a disclaimer, this took an hour and a half, and that's why it looks like crap. So welcome to the Spangleton Project, a really hastily assembled theme park. Immediately greeting you when you walk in is the Noid, perpetually frozen mid-dab to atone for his sins. He has been crucified atop Dump Tower, a very stout skyscraper designed with little hands in mind. It's also an ATM because, I don't know, eat the rich or something? Make up your own moral. Behind that is my info booth, which shut down mysteriously during the game, and even though I could give its worker a raise and better training, they never came back to open the shop. What a ripoff. To the left is this thing, and it plays the music from Turtles in Time. Or that one video of the guy ripping his pants at high speeds for kids too young to remember that game. Past this assortment of shops that I didn't build is the DeLorean go-kart track labeled Almir's Rage. He watches over the drivers and makes sure they also enjoy many of Starbreeze's fine products like Payday 2 Ultimate Edition and the upcoming Ethan and Gila character pack. It has nothing to do with DeLoreans other than Payday 2 once had one, but that's as far as that stretch can go. There's also this thing which plays the music from Curb Your Enthusiasm because, hey, if I can't monetize my videos anymore, I might as well go full copyright and free. So on the right is the granddaddy, Meme Machines. This is what you come here. This track actually has a decent amount of detail jammed into it, with plenty of trees lining the roads and a lovely pond. And it plays Yonoid 2 music because I just really unironically love that soundtrack. And I have a feeling this would be a great go-kart track if it existed in real life. Someone help me fund Meme Machines. Just, actually, Spangleton Project in general, can I just get, you know, like $1 million, make this happen? Thank you. And that's it. I actually didn't build more of this because I had all the footage I needed and I had class to attend. If there's enough demand, I might come back to this park and update it with a new tour video, but until then, see you around. Hey, this was a bit longer than normal. Social media and Patreon links are in the description. I have more of these planned in the upcoming month or two. Stay tuned.